EZers, and welcome to EZANZ podcast episode number 52. We have a great set of content for you today, and of course I've got the ever faithful Steve on the line.
Cool. I'd say you've got a great set of content, but you've also got a great set.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'd say a great set. We've attempted to go higher production quality. We're not quite BBC standards yet.
You're not far off, right? Not far off. Yeah, we're
probably a little bit far off.
We're definitely making a dedicated effort to bring the production value of these podcasts up, which is absolutely necessary. So you'll see we've got a nice background today. It looks like we're sitting next to each other for a change instead of those four
Which way
boxes.
are you going to be? Should I look this way to talk to you?
Yeah.
Because I'm just talking to a wall.
Yeah.
Trick of, I know I'll give you it's a little bit of a camera trick, like inside industry knowledge. But when you look that way, Fletcher's not there.
Yeah, I'll be over to you, Steve. Easy. Anyway, one thing that we haven't really introed much since we've merged the podcast is Steve is a master of storytelling. He's not only a master trainer, he is the master trainer that is a master of storytelling. So I know this is something that you're quite passionate about. So do you want to give us a little bit of an idea of why we tell stories so much?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so Fletcher, you gave me a much better intro than I would have given myself, so I really appreciate that. I look after storytelling within Microsoft for Microsoft Australia, specifically for our retail field guys. My aim is to get them not selling through facts and figures and statistics and all of that stuff, but it's incorporating the way that people feel about a product, the way that something makes them feel, an experience that they've had in the past that made them wish that they had something like this. And there's that age-old saying that I've heard way too many times now, is that, people won't remember what you told them, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And that's generally kind of the gist of how storytelling is. It's starting to kind of move away from that, it has a 1 terabyte hard drive, it's got 16 gigs of RAM, it's got a really cool processor in there. Rather than having all of that, like bang, 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 it's actually more of a story around why that is beneficial to them. And we always talk, within Microsoft, we talk about starting with the why. So when you want to do something, when you want to achieve something, you actually think a bit more in reverse. And you think about why you want to achieve that. What is your why? And that's really kind of where storytelling goes from. But it follows a big format. And within sales, I've been in sales now since I was 14. I worked on a market stall in London, selling magazines. I literally, it was literally like that. I worked for some guy who had a van and wanted to sell magazines at a market, and I got paid £15 a day to sell these magazines. Ooh. And it was not a lot of money. Yeah. But at 14, that got me enough sweets to balloon me up to the size that I am now. So now with storytelling, what we found in the past is that it didn't exist. There was almost feature. It was kind of, we call it feature dumping. So people were like feature. It has this, it has this, it has this, it has this. And that worked at the time. But then as things evolved, we kind of evolved into the next thing. So feature and advantage, so what was the advantage of that feature? So it has 16 gigs of RAM, which means you can have, far more processing. You can have, more spreadsheets open. Then it went from feature advantage to feature advantage benefit. So that went on to be continuing that kind of that line of, giving the customer more information rather than just going bang, bang, bang. So feature advantage benefit. And I would say today, good salespeople will use that feature advantage and a benefit when they're talking sales. And you're probably thinking about this now as yourself. Maybe when you're selling stuff, whatever industry you're in. Obviously, we do a tech podcast, so we expect that a lot of people that watch this are in tech.
Yeah.
But whatever kind of industry you're in, if you're selling, that's what you're kind of doing. You're looking at the feature, the advantage of that feature, and the benefit that it will bring to the customer. And that's a great way to sell. Where things are evolving to now is, instead of doing that feature advantage benefit, you incorporate all of that into a story.
Yeah.
And in bringing that into a story, it makes it more personal. because like when you're with your mates in the pub or you're sitting at a barbecue, you're just bouncing stories off of everybody, and one story will resonate with someone which will make them go, oh, I had an experience like that happened, blah blah blah. And that's all that catching up with your mates at the pub is. It's sharing stories that everyone can kind of identify with. Fletch, you'll know this, when all of the trainers get together, we just sit down and 2 hours goes by where we just start talking about different experiences that we've had, whether it's on a random subject or whether it's actually work focused. A lot of time can go because we just start sharing the stories and the experiences that we have, and that's what makes us relatable as people. So I'm constantly trying to kind of stop myself from going, oh, this computer's great because it's got this and this. I'm actually then putting that into a story, and the way that stories go, we kind of follow a format where we call it SCORE. Microsoft likes to come up with acronyms. We call it SCORE. Situation, complication, resolution, example is what it stands for. I don't know if we can put that up on the screen, Fletch. I'm asking a bit much.
Can.
Yeah. We'll pop it up on the screen, but situation, complication, resolution, and example. And the way that works is basically every movie ever made kind of follows this narrative, unless you're Quentin Tarantino. Now, Fletcher, I'm going to ask you a question. What's your favourite movie?
Oh, you're putting me
on the spot.
I
know, it's brilliant.
Okay, my favourite movie, it's too hard, but I'm going to be honest. I think my favourite series of movies, at least, is Lord of the Rings. I'm so damn nerdy.
That's perfect. I'm completely okay with that because that kind of follows this narrative. So, Fletcher, tell me, what's the situation before everything, like at the beginning of the movie? What's the situation? What happens?
So the situation is a young hobbit named Frodo gets given a little ring, and that ring is from some big badass called Sauron, who is trying to get it back to take over the world.
Right. So what's the complication? What kind of screws up the status quo of the story?
So Sauron has had been defeated by a combined army of people and elves and stuff. And he needs the ring to get his full power back. The Frodo lives in somewhere called the Shire, which is like on the opposite side of a continent to Mordor, which is where he needs to take the ring and throw it in a volcano to destroy it.
So that's the complication. He needs to get all the way across the continent, right?
Absolutely.
So this is brilliant because I don't have to watch 78 hours of movies whilst you're telling me this, because I haven't watched Lord of the Rings, and I'm sure that I'm going to get absolutely obliterated.
I hope you do. No.
So now you've got your complication. What was the resolution?
So the resolution is a whole bunch of people come together to help him get to Mordor, and they put out a lot of sacrifices to distract Sauron from trying to find Frodo, and he makes it to this volcano and throws the ring.
Beautiful. And then the example is they all live happily ever after at the end, you'd assume, right?
Yes, hopefully.
In a series of movies. So look, every kind of movie follows that, and I'm sure that if you're playing along at home, you'll be thinking of your own favourite movie. Mine's Step Brothers, so I'll just put that one straight in.
Oh, that's a good one.
But it'll just literally, everything will have a situation, it'll have a complication that screws up that narrative, that kind of thing that otherwise the story would just be, there was once upon a time there was a prince and a princess and they all live happily ever after. That'll be the story. Whereas the complication is what screws up that narrative. And then the resolution is how they come to fix that at the end. And it's the same with storytelling. And it sounds really weird because we've just gone about talking about prince and princesses and Mordor and Frodo and the Shire. But it's the same with sales.
Yeah.
So if I'm talking about, I don't know.
I've got a question for you.
You've got a segment.
Yeah.
We should turn it into a segment.
Let's do it. I've been thinking of this while you've been talking, and I've got a question that I'd love to put you in a scenario to tell a story, and that is, we're all technical people, right? And as technical people who work in the tech industry, we become our family's tech support. And all the time,
my nan automatically thinks that because I work for Microsoft, I can work her video player from Australia, and she's in the UK.
Oh, man.
But she just assumes that, you're Microsoft, that's
she'll be
electronics.
Right. Yeah, you'll get it done. So, I find all the time that when I go over and I need to help a family member out with some piece of technology that they have, that there's usually a piece of Microsoft technology I wish they had that would resolve their situation. So can you kind of think of a tech support, family tech support time where you've just wished they had a piece of Microsoft technology, or they did get a piece of Microsoft technology that just made everything easier on them?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a good story for this. I've got a good story. I could just make one up. But it's actually it's quite funny because we were talking. I did a conference call for a bunch of people the other day on OneDrive, and it reminded me about this story that I kind of didn't even realize. It didn't even realize that I was building until I started sharing it. And it's for OneDrive. So 4 years ago, I had a beautiful baby girl, and I was extremely happy with that. Like it was a really, really great moment in my life, and I wanted to share that with everyone. But for people who don't know, I actually am the only person in my side of the family that lives in Australia. All of my family, my mum, my dad, my brothers, aunties, uncles, cousins, everyone, all live in the UK. And I am the only one here. The only family I've got here is my wife and her side of the family. So I'm literally isolated here. Now, the way that works is we have a child here in Australia, my mum and dad, who are now a grandparent. They're grandparents, they're grandma and granddad. For the first time, I'm the first child that's had a baby in the family. And that sucked for them because they were all the way over the other side of the world. And trying to see my daughter through FaceTime is great. But it's not constant.
Yeah.
They want to see pictures of her all the time. And I found myself every single day just sending them photos on email. But you can only have certain file limit sizes on emails. So when I'm sending emails, I can only maybe send about 5 to 6 photos. And like, if anyone's been a new parent, and Fletchy, I know you've got this to come, mate. Like, you are going to be taking a good 100 to 150 photos a day in that kid's first 10 days of being alive. Your phone is just going to go mad. It's not going to know what's hit it. It's gone from saving memes on your camera roll to literally just photos of kids. And to me, it was a shame because I had to go through all those photos, and I was like, I know I can only attach 6 to 10 photos depending on the size. And that was a pain because my family would only see those. So I'm sitting there scrolling through trying to pick the best ones for them. And I wish that they had OneDrive, or I wish that they had Office 365. And I had that as well, because what that meant was I could upload all my photos to OneDrive and I could share a folder. Fast forward about a year in, I start working at Microsoft. I start working at Microsoft probably about 6 months afterwards. And I learn about what OneDrive is, and I learn about what it can do for me, and I learn about Office 365. So I subscribe up to OneDrive. And all I need to do is sync my camera roll to OneDrive and share a link to my mum and dad in the UK via Facebook chat. And they've got that link, and they save it onto their OneDrive folder. And every single, if they want to look at it hourly, they can see photos that I've taken within that hour and uploaded to my OneDrive, because my phone will automatically sync to OneDrive whenever I take a photo. So I take a photo and bang, it uploads straight away to the cloud to OneDrive, which means they can see that. It's a shared folder. So now I can actually have them look at photos. I've had my mum call me and say, that photo you took an hour ago, can you send me the high resolution image of that or something or can you print that out onto a canvas for me? That kind of stuff is phenomenal. Like the fact she checks it, which means I know how much that means to her. And that in turn means so much to me, knowing that they can experience my daughter's life. And now she's 4 years old, and they get to watch her. They've watched her grow. There's a photo album that we share now, and it's literally just watching her grow. And I love that.
I love that too.
That's a piece of technology. Yeah, that's a piece of technology that I wish I had, or wish someone else had, and that we got, and it fixed everything for us. So actually, that question was more on me. Like, it was me that I kind of didn't realize I needed it until I got it and was like, holy cow, this is amazing. That's
cool though, because you've met Score, sorry. Tripping up on my words already. So like you said, a situation, you're in England, the rest of your family, you're in Australia, the rest of your family's in England, and you just had a kid and needed to share it. And you came up with that was a situation and complication in one, really, right? And then your resolution was OneDrive. And that was also your example. So that can kind of be a thing. Like, score can tie together like that. Do you think that's fair to say? But also,
absolutely. I think it's definitely that.
Also, I think, like, when we talk about stories, and I know you're going to hit this anyway, but I want to jump in and sound like I'm having input into the podcast.
Yeah, definitely. You should totally have input into the podcast.
Yeah.
People don't just want to hear a British guy talk
Your voice
and look across at a wall pretending he's trying to look at you every so often.
But your voice is a lot, smoother for podcasts than mine, so it's a good thing. No one wants to hear like a harsh, high-pitched Kiwi voice.
I like your harsh, high-pitched Kiwi voice, mate.
But your story was personal, right? Like, it was very personal because it came from a real-life scenario of yours, and it's very relatable to a heck of a lot of people. I think everyone can relate to a similar situation to that story, which, makes it have even more impact on the audience you tell it to. And so when you are telling that story in a kind of sales scenario and trying to give someone like a deeper understanding of the impact that OneDrive could have in their lives, then all of a sudden, because it is so personal and relatable, they just get it. And like you say, it just makes them feel different. They can feel like they understand the product and have been in the situation or will be in a similar situation where it's going to be useful just like that. So I think that's great. I even as you were talking, I'm like, Steph's parents are in Vietnam. She's in the exact same situation as you are.
There you go.
Like,
yeah.
I can't believe I haven't thought of doing that before, but I'm absolutely going to do that, like, right now. So
if I can change one grandparent's life by just saying that story, it's amazing. But like, I think probably what's most important is I took about 5-6 minutes to tell that story, and not all customers have 5-6 minutes when you're in a store. So it's really important as well that you pick the kind of chunks that you want to tell about the story, but you make sure you keep the same kind of story arc in there with score. So it's being able to know the right kind, know your audience as well, with telling those stories. And also, you might not have a OneDrive story because you might not use OneDrive. You're more than welcome to use my story. You can turn it into your own story if you want, or you can turn around and say, this guy I know who you didn't used to have OneDrive, and he had a kid and his parents were in the UK, and he was able to help it by getting it shared through a link and things like that. So you can use my story, or you can turn it into your own. Not all stories have to be your own specific story. You can turn them into your own story, or you can tell that person's story in a way that is still compelling to the person that you're telling it to.
Absolutely. And man, so I think that's going to just be our running theme for the podcast today now is stories.
Stories.
And we've got a few more segments that we want to talk about before we sign off. So I know me and you are most excited for one particular segment, so I think we'll leave it to last. Dive in there, get you on the edge of your seat. But before we go into our hype section at the end, I wanted to take the time to show you guys a video that Hannah from Lenovo and I filmed recently about the new Lenovo Ideapad range. So
Are we just going to brush over the fact that this isn't Hannah from Lenovo? This is Hannah from our team. She just left to go to Lenovo.
She couldn't stay off the podcast for more than 5 episodes, so she's making a return trip. Special guest appearance. From Hannah. But we sat down and we recorded a whole series on the Lenovo Ideapad range. So I'll chuck a link as per normal in the comments below so you guys can check it out, or just go into our channel, hit subscribe, and there's a whole playlist of Ideapad Lenovo range, so check those out. But I wanted to show you guys a video about the Lenovo C340, which is a great brand new modern device.
And now, as I made a big deal out of in talking about the S340, I want to talk to you about the C340. C means convertible. Yes,
oh, yes.
So beautifully done. It's like we've filmed videos together before. And what I'm really excited about with this one, I've shown you devices that are black, I've shown you devices that are silver, and I don't think the camera does this enough justice, but this bad boy is an abyss blue.
It's so nice.
It's
I like
really
it. I like
nice,
it a lot. I like
also
it a lot.
available in silver and black if you prefer those more traditional
match.
colours. And the hinges match. It looks really nice. So I think that these are similar in terms of some of the things that we're getting, but we're adding more features on as we go. So we've identified that basically for personal use, I watch a lot of TV, I watch a lot of stuff. I like watching video podcasts on YouTube, such as the EZANZ podcast, all kinds of things. So, having things like tent mode, the speakers are in a really nice place. They're also Dolby speakers as well. So when you're listening in tent mode, it's going around. So it's nice and easy, and you get that good quality as well. So what's great about this is that it also has a rapid charge.
Oh yeah!
Yeah, so I forgot to mention this on the S340 as well. So from the 3 range, we do get that rapid charge in, where you get 80% of your battery in 1 hour.
That's awesome.
So
I love it. I love things like rapid charge because that
Exactly.
is so important to a consumer experience, because everyone has an experience where they've needed a device charged in a hurry.
Absolutely. Even like this morning when I was on my way here to Sea of Fletch, I had to go and pick up a couple of things beforehand. I was listening to music while I was getting ready. I was using Google Maps because Fletcher lives in Narnia.
I do.
And like I'm going to be out for the rest of the day, and my phone had already gotten down to like 60%, and I was just like, oh my goodness, oh no, this isn't great. So I was charging it in the car. We all know it's got like a lower wattage or ampage or whatever you want to call it. But even now, like, it took me maybe 40 minutes to get here.
Yeah.
My phone only went up by like 10% charge.
Oof.
So, in this kind of modern world that we live in where we're going out and about, we're doing stuff, that's just something that we need. Consider like taking it on an airplane or when you're traveling.
That 1 hour before you're bored and you've been training all day and you just need it charged up.
Yeah, that life, those things. And something that I, of course, want to talk about is that this guy comes with a pen in the box.
Ooh.
So we all know that I'm a huge fan of digital inking. We know that Fletcher is a huge fan of digital inking. But I think that, as I said, when I was talking about kind of my needs and my device that I bought 6 years ago, I never even comprehended digital inking being a need that I had. And please hear me out here, because I know a lot of people maybe have the conception when you talk to them about inking, they go, I'm not an artist, I don't need it, why on earth would I buy this? We've all signed a contract at some point, whether it be a work contract, a tenancy agreement, something from the bank, all of those kinds of things, the IRD forms, blah, blah, blah. Back in the day, when I bought this laptop 6 years ago, I'd get like a $19 printer when they went on sale, and then I'd just, when the ink ran out, I'd just throw it out.
And buy another one.
That is not sustainable for the environment, it's not sustainable for anything or anyone to do that. And why? Like, why not? Like, and I am always amazed when people still send me stuff, and I've definitely said this before, but I'm always amazed when people send me stuff and they're like, please scan back to me at your earliest convenience. I'm like, I'll have it back to you within 2 minutes because I'm really efficient, because I love digital inking. So as I said, all of these devices that I've talked about meet some of my needs in some way or form. But because I did have that awesome opportunity to maybe step out of my comfort zone and use something that I didn't realise was something that I needed, this, I think, is a really key talking point to everybody. It comes in the box, which is really, really great. So it gives you the opportunity to try it out, see how it works. If you're going to use it ever, I know some people who've never used their pen before for digital inking, and some people who use it religiously. I've definitely talked about babysitting my 10-year-old niece. She draws me lots of really cool pictures. And even Fletch and I, now that we don't work together all the time, we still collaborate on cool little projects like this. There's definitely been digital inking examples where we send stuff back and forth to each other.
Just proofing things. It's so easy.
Just proofing things, absolutely. If we set something up in a store, we take a picture, whether it's, new marketing stuff or planograms, blah, blah, blah. It's so easy just to take a photo and cut your notes instead of trying to explain something in like 10 different bullet points to be really, really specific. So I think that, honestly, I'm so in love with either a detachable or a convertible, anything touchscreen, I really think has such a huge use case.
Yeah.
But that's for me.
I've got to build up on top of that, because this is my favourite device that you've shown me so far.
Yeah.
And I'm not even surprised. I love the colour. The trackpad's even bigger than the S340.
Yeah.
But Windows 7 is coming to an end on January the 14th next year.
Yes.
So it's not that far off, and people are getting messages on computers to come install.
Yeah.
And I can tell you there's 6 things that Windows 7 users love on Windows 10 more than anything else, that are more satisfying than anything else. And one of those 6 things, it's not, super big fancy things, it's touchscreen.
Yeah.
Because a touchscreen is something that people use day in, day out, and they love it. So touch is a huge thing, particularly with such a big opportunity like that coming up and coming around.
Absolutely, and definitely, as I said, while touch is amazing and awesome, and you guys have heard me talk about products for 5.5 years, not quite 6, because this is where I was living 6 years ago, but I still just want to make the point, and this range of products that we have in front of us today, is that there is a price delta when you go up to touchscreen. So as I was saying, with the S130 and the S145 and such, they fit a need. Yeah. They totally fit a need, and I think that if we're future-proofing ourselves, if we're looking ahead to what our needs might be, then I think spending that extra money, investing that extra amount for something with a touchscreen and a pen, I think is 110% worth it. As I said, within 6 months, I went from something like this to something super light and portable with a touchscreen and pen and inking, because I had the opportunity to use it for free. I absolutely bought into those features, and now I can't go back and I can't use anything else.
Awesome. Thank you guys for watching that video. I'm sure that you heard us telling a few little stories as we went through there. But if you go and watch the whole series of videos in order, so going through from the intro to outro, you'll definitely see how we work in stories. Hannah, of course, being from our team, is very Microsofty in her ways. So she tells a fantastic story about her old clunker device that she brought. It was actually the last computer she's purchased, because we've all worked in technology for such a long time. So go check all those out, see how we weave stories into talking about that range, and you'll notice how we barely talk about specs at all as we go through them. But now,
cool,
we can hit the excitement time. So,
oh my god, I've been waiting for, and no one else will be waiting for it either.
So you might have noticed that the world around us has changed. We're now sitting in a pirate world. We're going to talk to you about the latest Sea of Thieves update. And you know what? I'm going to stop talking, because I'm passionate about this game, but Steve is passionate on a whole nother level. And I know that you have some fantastic insights on this new update and the changes it's brought.
Yeah, absolutely. I think first things first, though, and for people who sail the seas on Sea of Thieves, which might not be many of you, it might be some of you, there is an ultimate goal that people aim to get to when they start the game, and that is becoming what's called a pirate legend. I was lucky enough to be able to achieve Pirate Legend in like the first 6 weeks of the game coming out, because I had way too much time on my hands, and I'm pretty sure that there was a divorce on the cards if I didn't reach it soon. So I had to kind of grind it out as quickly as possible. But Fletcher, you made Pirate Legend last week, and we're gonna have to. I think we're gonna have to drop that photo in somewhere. Let's put a photo up in the corner. We have the photo of Fletcher when he became Pirate Legend. We took a screenshot of us just getting really happy with it. But it's actually a really elative feeling when you get Pirate Legend, because this game, if you haven't played it, please try it. It's actually, as of today, it's 50% off in the store for the Microsoft Games Sale. Or the Xbox Game Sale, whatever it's called. But it's like, try it out, get your crew together and try it out, because You just create. We talk about storytelling. I have not been in one instance of the game where I haven't had a story to tell or a story to share with Fletcher. You know, it's really a great game. And we've spoken about this on so many podcasts now that this is absolutely mad. You're probably like, Steve, shut up about Sea of Thieves. I'll shut up when you start playing it and we can try it out. But you're absolutely right. So congratulations to Fletcher for making Pirate Legend, because that is no easy feat. I know
had
that
a lot
it's a good
of
feeling
help
when you
from
get there.
a very good mate of mine, obviously sitting next to me. I wouldn't have gotten there in anywhere near the time if I hadn't have done it with Steve. I probably wouldn't have even gotten there, because that game is so much more fun when you can make stories with your friends. So definitely check it out. And of course it's on Game Pass as well. So I think it's still one of the best reasons to buy Game Pass.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, do you know what?
Yeah.
I've just thought of something. Should we do a giveaway?
We can.
I have 1 month of Xbox Game Pass that I can give away to anybody who shares a story in the comments section below about a Microsoft piece of technology that changed their life. If someone does it, we will work out a way to email them.
Absolutely, yeah. Please do comment below. Tell us that story, and we'll look forward to reading it and checking it out. So,
boom! Look at that. Already making it rain.
let's
Shall we talk about
about
Gunpowder Stashes, which is the latest update? Yeah, that's the latest update for Sea of Thieves, called Gunpowder Stashes. It launched on the 17th of July, so just a couple of days ago. And it brings a fresh kind of new way to interact on the seas. One of the developers says he always says this: we're trying to bring new and interesting ways for people to interact on the Sea of Thieves. And he probably uses that saying a bit too much, but I think actually with this update, it's brought in some new and interesting ways to interact. Normally we have things like skull forts, which are classed as kind of raids, definitely. I guess. They're raids that you go in and you kind of get a lot of loot in a small space of time for killing lots of skeleton bosses and things like that. Now, normally those forts lay dormant until they're activated for a raid. When these Gunpowder Stashes now, the story behind it is that the skeletons across the world, because when you're in Sea of Thieves, you fight skeletons as well as other pirates. Yep, just stay with me here. Now, what they've done across the world is they've buried a load of gunpowder barrels underneath the fort, and it's your job to then go and dig up these gunpowder barrels, hoard them as much as possible, and then sell them to different factions within the Sea of Thieves. And that will get you rep, and it will get you extra bonuses for you to be able to buy more cosmetic items and things like that. It's actually a really, really good good little update. But it's really difficult because you're sailing around the seas with high explosive gunpowder barrels on your ship, and all it takes is for one naughty pirate to shoot those gunpowder barrels, and you have sunk. We were playing the game yesterday, wasn't we, Fletcher? And we were completely oblivious to there being anyone around us. And all of a sudden, some guy decided he was just going to blow up our entire ship, and we lost everything. And I'm talking, when I say everything, it's probably about an hour and a half's worth of grinding, which isn't a lot in the Sea of Thieves, but it's still a lot of stuff that we had gone, absolutely gone, and there was nothing we could do to get it back. Fortunately, oh, look at me, I'm already scoring this story. But fortunately, we made friends with the guy who sunk us, and he came and joined our crew. So we had a three-man crew. He was a really nice kid, actually, and we ended up sailing the seas together. So I think there's a bit of a story to tell. I can 100% categorically never say that someone who has sunk me, who normally what I want to do is just go and get my own back. I took a different approach yesterday, and I was like, actually, no, this guy was really good. I'm going to invite him to our crew so he can be our security.
Meanwhile, I was fuming in the corner like, no, I want to get him.
You were like low key. You wasn't even low key dirty. You were filthy. This guy, I just want to go and get him. How dare he? How dare he? And I'm like, let's make friends with him.
But no, he turned out to be a really cool guy, which was awesome. My gosh. And we not only did we rescue our stuff, but we ended up sailing around and doing another run of forts. By the end of it, we had 26 gunpowder barrels and 4 what you call stronghold
Yeah.
gunpowder barrels, which are ones that have extra big explosions. So mega kegs.
Mega
that was a new
kegs.
term. I didn't heard that term, but I like it.
Yeah, mega kegs.
It's cool. And one thing I noticed about the Sea of Thieves updates is just like any other piece of software or game that updates, they have like release notes. But even Sea of Thieves with their release notes are telling stories. So, like Steve said, the factions within the game are stockpiling for their defenses. That was what it said as you read through the release notes. I just loved going through that. I hopped into a party with Steve a little bit early because my game was still updating. And I was just like, oh my god! This is happening, and I was so, I brought into each of those little pieces of the update so much, just because they told a little story next to each piece, so that was huge.
It's
that
true.
was huge.
It's true. It is. It's good to kind of have, I know, we talk about this game way too much, and we'll do a stream on it as well later on, but this game really, being a Microsoft Studios title, really kind of nails the storytelling aspect of it as well, which I think is probably why I like it so much. The fact that we're so closely aligned. It's a Microsoft Studios title with Rare. The guys at Rare, work so closely with Microsoft and are aligned on the things that we care about within, the technology industry, but also within the game as well. They kind of bring that across into the game as well.
So yeah, Steve, absolutely, I agree. We drink that Kool-Aid, but you're always saying to me and to other people when you talk about this game that one of the reasons you love it so much is even though there's not necessarily like a huge overarching story, every time we go on, we create our own story.
That's it.
I think you're absolutely right.
That's the most important part of the game, and that's what the game is based off of. It's a community building their own stories, and if there wasn't this Sea of Thieves community, which is so interactive, then it wouldn't. The game wouldn't be anywhere near as good.
Absolutely. So yeah, the update. You've got your gunpowder keg runs, which are awesome, and there's quite a few different ones. There's ones where you just sail across a map from east to west, where you hit the different little locations that they have. And there's even what's called like an Athena Devil's Roar gunpowder run. So for pirate legends like Steve and myself, there's one specifically for us. So it's really cool that they keep, growing the game and they keep designing it and they think about how are we going to encourage more people to come in and how are we going to encourage the community that's already there to stay.
Yeah.
So they're always working on ways to bring new players in, whether it's, toning down some of the difficulty levels, whether it's just smoothing out the game and the bugs, making it look even more beautiful, which is amazing that they can do that, because when I first played it, which was on day one, even though I stopped playing it soon after for a little while, I thought it was beautiful then. And then when I came back in, it was just mind-blowing that it could look better than when it came out.
Yeah.
So absolutely awesome, and join us for our streams. Make sure, as well as subscribing to our YouTube channel, that you hop onto our Mixer channel below and subscribe there as well, so you can check those out and join me and Steve on the high seas.
Our Mixer channel is exactly the same as the YouTube channel, EZANZ. So check us out, because it'll be great to have you on our streams.